I caught up with the Corporate Responsibility and Sustainability General Manager of Olam Nigeria Limited, Jennifer Abuah, to find out about the organization's activities as a responsible corporate citizen. Take a look. It's a pleasure to have you on Kaleidoscope.
Thank you for having me.
The COVID-19 pandemic has put a lot of people in a difficult situation, especially for vulnerable populations. Olam Group, like many organizations, has been supporting the fight against COVID-19. How does this reflect the mission of the group?
That's a really important question, and thank you very much for asking it. What I would say is that Olam, for many people who won't realize this, Olam actually started in Nigeria. So 31 years ago, Olam started exporting cashews out of Nigeria, and 31 years later, here we are, we're a global agribusiness company. Olam is especially invested in Africa and particularly invested in Nigeria as well. So Nigeria is important to Olam. We were born here in Olam and we very much believe in Olam. So a situation like COVID-19 is absolutely obligatory for us as a company, as a Nigerian-born company, to look at, to work in partnership with government, with federal government, with state government, and our stakeholders as well.
I always like to inquire about CSR budgets because it shows how important CSR is to the way a company runs its business. For Olam Group, how much is spent on CSR annually?
Very interesting question. We see, first thing I need to say, and that is that we don't call it CSR. We call it corporate responsibility and sustainability. And we see it as integral to our business. It's not a nice to have or a charitable add-on, if you like. We don't get involved in corporate responsibility and sustainability with a view to gaining public awards or public accolades. As far as we see it, it's integral to the business model, and it's a must-have, and it's absolutely integral to our survival. And as such, there's no real way. There's no way that we can actually put a price or a figure to what we spend. At the end of the day, whatever we need to spend on corporate responsibility and sustainability, we spend.
How did the donations to the fight against COVID-19 affect Olam Nigeria's costs for the year?
Yeah, I mean, this has been an incredible year. It's been extraordinary. When you look at what's happened in the year, we started off with a very aggravated economic situation, and then you juxtapose that with COVID-19. It really has been extraordinary. Our strategy, as soon as we realized what we had on our hands, we identified three strategic priorities. The first priority was public information, how to create awareness amongst people, how to increase awareness so that people could stay safe. Second priority for us was the vulnerable communities, vulnerable individuals, in fact, people who had lost their daily wage. And the third priority was the medical community, people on the front line, how to ensure that they had the equipment that they needed to stay safe, to continue to keep us safe. So those were our priorities.
You've just highlighted public information as one of the priority areas for the fight against COVID-19. How is Olam Nigeria driving that activity?
Yeah, well, so one of the first things that we did, public information is absolutely key, yes, particularly when you consider the communities that we're working with. We essentially are working, for the most part, with rural communities who don't have the benefits in terms of digital access that one might find in the urban areas, in urban communities. So we identified immediately that we needed to address public information. I think the other thing that we identified was the fact that there was a lot of misinformation and disinformation about what COVID-19 is or isn't. And we immediately felt responsible. We felt a responsibility to address that. We've done that in several ways across the country. We've made it our business to identify what radio stations farmers that we work with actually listen to. And we've put out public announcements on people's favorite radio stations. Essentially, we've been airing these radio announcements in the course of the day, throughout the day, every day in the week, and we're doing that. We've been doing that for the last 6 or 7 weeks. So cocoa, across the cocoa belt, we're running radio announcements across the different products. Rice is doing it, and we make sure that obviously we make these radio announcements accessible so that they're made in the local languages as well. So we've got, in the case of cocoa, we made the radio announcements in Pidgin English and also in Yoruba. For rice, we have rice radio announcements. They've been made in Hausa, in Tiv, in Pidgin English as well. So anywhere, at the end of the day, it's a context-specific activity. Everything's been made in such a way that people can actually access it. So those are the radio announcements. We also, in cocoa, identified the need to, we felt that there was an opportunity actually. So we had the radio announcements running, but we identified that we thought we could actually reinforce the messages. And why is that important? It's not just about farmers understanding what COVID-19 is. It's also important because we wanted to ensure that farmers knew how to keep safe, that they know how to keep safe, that they will continue to farm, but they will protect themselves as they farm. At the end of the day, we're absolutely nothing without the farmers. Without the farmers, we don't eat. And that really is what sustainability is all about at the end of the day. So we identified an opportunity to reinforce the messages that are being put out by the radio by making a film. So we've been making a film. We've made a film about COVID-19. We identified in the film what the misconceptions of COVID-19 actually are. So they get to know what COVID is, how it's transmitted, how they can, what measures they can take to protect themselves, and what measures they can take to protect themselves when they go into the field. Because the question is, okay, it's when you're at home, how do you protect yourself? But when you go into the when you go to the farms, how can they protect themselves? And this film addresses that in terms of what things farmers need to do to be safe when they're going to the farm, when they're going to the market, on their way back into the house, as they go about their daily business. How can they stay safe? So that's the purpose of the film.
You're watching Kaleidoscope on Channels Television. We have more on Olam Nigeria sustainability culture. Also coming up is the donation of the Arthur Banefo Digital Research Center to the University of Lagos to promote research and development. Please stay with us. Some schools of thought hold that CSR is an obligation or should be an obligation for big organizations, especially because they more or less owe a debt to society. Do you agree with this?
Well, I think I have maybe an issue in terms of owing a debt to society. We see corporate responsibility and sustainability as it's not an add-on, it's not really negotiable, it's an integral part of our business model. That's in the first instance. We don't get involved, we don't have sustainability embedded in our businesses as a way to get a tax break or a tax relief, for instance. It's not charity. So we don't see it as charity. It's an integral part of the business. It's it's incorporated, it's part of our business model. Other companies may operate using, working within the concept of CSR, for instance. We don't call it CSR, we call it corporate responsibility and sustainability because it is an integral part of our business. So there are so many benefits to be gained from, intrinsic benefits to be gained from working, incorporating and embedding corporate responsibility and sustainability into our business model. For instance, working with farmers, we are in rural communities. We need to work responsibly. We need to be sourcing responsibly. Working with farmers, we're delivering, training them in good agricultural practices. We're training them in practices that respect the environment, so that we're not taking out more from the environment than we need to put in more into the environment than we take out from the environment. Sustainability practices, consumers all over the world, they want to know that the products that they're buying, what they buy, whether it's chocolate or cashews or anything that they may buy, they want to know that they're ethically sourced. And a corporate responsibility and sustainability program will do that. It enables us to, it runs the gamut of so many different areas, including traceability. So people want to know, well, how do I know that my chocolate, for instance, that my chocolate came from, that my chocolate is not sourced from farmers who are using children to grow, to farm, for instance. A corporate responsibility and sustainability program ensures that with the embedding of sustainability into a crop like cocoa, for instance, that the farmers understand the dangers of child labor, that they understand the dangers of forced labor, that there's certain controls and measures that they need to keep in place to ensure that they're not degrading the soil, that they're not deforesting, that they're not cutting down trees needlessly, that they're not cutting down trees at all, in fact. How many Nigerians actually want to go into farming? Not many. So we need to be looking at, sustainability is absolutely key. Who will grow the crops that we're going to eat in the future? Are we looking at the future of Nigerian agriculture? We definitely need to be looking at, so if we're talking about sustainability, we need to be looking at what's happening to the young ones. Are the young ones coming through? Are they going into agriculture? We need to be looking at how we're going to, about manpower. How do we encourage young people to go into farming? What do we need to be looking at? What are the conditions that would increase the number of people who are looking at farming? Essentially, we've all identified that we need to get on board. We need to get on that train. But sustainability, if we are looking at it through the lens of looking at agriculture through the lens of sustainability, then we're more likely to address the needs of young people coming into the sector.